because he really just kind of says standard stock babyface stuff, right? I'm going to hurt you because you're not a good person. Here comes MJF looking like he hasn't slept in 6 weeks. And he's walking out and he looks haggard. And he goes, you know why I hate you, MJF? Is because you have a family. I had someone. I loved her. We got engaged. I said, I want all these things. And she left me. So the only thing that I have that's always been with me that I can make sure that it will always be with me is this Triple B World Championship, the AEW World Championship. And for you to have all these concussions and still want this, even though you have what I want, and that's the family and the kids and all of that, you're a fucking prick. I hate you for that. Makes a good point.
Yeah.
Don't know really what it has to do with an Iron Man match, nonetheless. But he's like, that's why I don't like you. It's because you're a fucking prick. And you know what I'm going to do? Since I can't have a family and you have a family and you want my thing when you really shouldn't because you have the thing that's the best thing in the world, I'm going to fucking ruin you in front of your family. And he talks about Birdie. And then he gets in the ring and he's like, I'm going to give you CT or whatever. And then they just knock down, drag out fight. What'd you think of the promo?
I feel like we got to the spot that we're in a few weeks ago and we haven't been able to do anything since. It's that we know the motivations here. We know what, we get it. And MJF just has to keep going out and be an asshole. And he can do that very well. He can do that better than most. Mm-hmm. And he did that here. But it's what he did last week, wasn't it? I mean, it just kind of feels like we've been here. And I feel like they're doing a lot of that right now. I felt like they worked up some decent storylines coming up for Revolution. But we didn't map out how we're going to get there very well. We kind of shut our load already, and we've already predetermined or predefined what everything is now, but we've still got a couple weeks to get there. So that's how I felt with this. By the way, if you're just joining us live on the chat, that's because we had a little technical difficulties and we weren't actually live the whole time. Tom, you're just figuring this out now. So I'll post the whole show later when we're done here, so you can go back and watch the whole thing that you will have missed from the beginning, because we record on the back end, because we're used to this by now. We've done the technical difficulty game quite a bit. We got backups on backups on backups. Man, fuck.
Right,
Jeffrey Sills, we already talked about you, so you need to go back and because we love you and anybody else that's joining the chat live. But yeah, MJF here, great. The one thing that hit me at the end is, I don't think early onset CTE is a thing. It's not a progressive.
But it's a thing. But yeah, it's not it's just a buzzword.
You can get CTE, but like early onset would imply that like it's happening earlier than one would expect due to age or something. Like CTE is due to like it. Yeah, I was like, you're fine.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too technical in the medical definitions here, but
to me, I agree with you. I think we had a good card written down on paper when we said, hey, our pay-per-view matches are going to be this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to make this a gimmick, that a gimmick, this a gimmick. There you go. Done. And then to get there specifically with this and also with the Jericho, like I said, to a lesser extent, Moxley and Hangman is probably the third story, but the two main stories that we've been told, beat over the head with week after week, has been Jericho and Ricky Starks and MJF and Bryan Danielson. And with both stories, it's 10 different ideas told all at the same time. Because specifically with this, talking about the World Championship picture, we've said 9 million things, it feels like. We said Bryan Danielson is going to embarrass MJF because he's not a real wrestler. So that's the reason for the Iron Man match. Okay. But then we kind of stopped on that. Then we said MJF is a real monster and he's going to show you as he makes you go through all these competitors. He goes through the competitors. We kind of stopped that. Then MJF says, you don't have what it takes to be the devil. I'll tell you how I was the devil. I did this. And then we stopped. And now it's, well, I really hate you because you have a family and I want a family and I can't have it. So, like, what is it?
Yeah,
That's four different things.
Yeah, and all of them good. All again, this is what we said. MJF is good at it, right? Lost in some of the sauce here is that all of those in standalone different feuds are all great motivations, and they're great heel motivations because it's that subtlety where we've talked about where it's, yeah, that makes sense, right? Like that sounds like a good origin story for a villain. It also, with MJF, has another great subtlety of being like, okay, that sounds good, but it also sounds like it's just something that you understand people might feel that, and so you're just saying it. But you don't really feel that way. We don't believe you, right? Like, so all that's fine. But again, like you said, that's been four different things. So which one is it? Now it just feels like, man, we're stalling.
It just feels like
we hit it too early.
Yeah, we're on a highway with 4 lanes and we're just not deciding on what lane to drive in. That's my thing. These 4 ideas could be 4 different stories. You could have for the All-Atlantic Championship, Orange Cassidy, you're not a real wrestler. I'm the real wrestler. Let's do a 30-minute Iron Man match. That's one story. Then you could do another one where Christian says to Jungle Boy, you're not the real devil. Watch me be the real devil. That's your second one. Then the third one could be this one here, where I've always wanted a family and I have this thing that is my family and you want to take that from me. And that's why I hate you. Those are 3 different matches, but we've told all of that shit in this one, not well.
Honestly, that one, it kind of upsets me because like, that's a great story that I never even thought of for a heel to be like, it's because you're the fucking happy family guy. You think I don't want that shit? Why do you think I'm this way, you motherfucker? Right? Like, you know nothing about me, right? Which, again, you know, maybe a pro wrestling purist might tell me that's wrong because you're supposed to just hate a heel. They're just supposed to be evil and hatred. But, like, that's great storytelling to me, right? Because you're like, but I don't like the guy who's, you know, like an evil, you know, used car salesman here, but yet, I get it. I get why he's angry.
Well, and that's when the best stories are told. That's why we liked MJF versus CM Punk so much, is because we had the origin story. We stuck with the story and we got to the finish line. Now, again, they were going to do something else afterwards. That's beside the point. But that story by itself was what made it so good, is it was one story. We peeled back the onions and we told it well. This is a jambalaya of half cool things that isn't fully cooked.
Yeah, I shout out to Jeffrey Sills in the chat. And a reminder, anybody just joining us live, chat with us, right? Jeffrey Sills says, it also feels like he's trying to make Bryan Danielson second guess who MJF is. By the way, Max is getting jacked as fuck. He looks like Super Shredder after he takes the ooze. And I noticed that too. Now, I mean, I think he went out of his way to wear an extra medium shirt. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely hitting the plates. And that'll help him there. But for this storyline, I'm with you here. It's like, man, we've done too much here. And at this point, I don't know, like, it's jumping the shark, maybe? I don't know how to describe it, where now it's more underwhelming than it should have been.
Yeah, because then what's next week? Well, Bryan Danielson actually hates MJF because he was an original and he couldn't take this company to new heights.
Because when is Revolution? Like, how many weeks we got to do this?
We got one more.
Okay, that's it. All right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But then next week, is it, well, Bryan Danielson's motivation is this. And it's like, well, fuck, guys. Come on. What are we doing here? Because remember this jambalaya half story has been told so many different times. Takeshita was in this motherfucker for a couple weeks. Remember when that was a thing? And now we're just saying, well, fuck that guy. He couldn't get back over here to America probably. And so we're just going to fucking forget about
he'll be at the glory hole. At the next glory hole that they do.
I don't know. But anyway. All right. So then after that, they do a knockdown drag out fight. By the way, it ended with, I think, man, if it wasn't a real knockout punch, MJF sold it like it was. Bryan Danielson hits him and he's folded. He didn't wrestling fall. He felt like he got knocked out.
Maybe he got it.
Scared me.
Maybe he caught a hard one. Yeah.
Yeah. Shit. But then we go backstage. Jamie Hayter.
Hey, maybe he said, okay, we can do this angle. don't use our actual name. And he was like, fuck him. And then he's like, all right, fucking give you one of the, how's your father?
Well, and that was another thing where it kind of fell hollow, where Bryan Danielson says, you talk about my kids, I'm going to kick the shit out of you. And then MJF just does. And Danielson just stood there and waited until he got into the ring. I was like, you should have went after him. Yeah,
that's a weird one. Yeah, that's what I thought we were going to get. Yeah, and another thing that it takes a lot more oversight to catch something like this, and you would have to have cleared the entire promo to catch something like this. But we've talked about where if I'm just an AEW Dynamite viewer and I'm only watching AEW Dynamite and that's it, I don't know what Birdie means. I know we said, don't talk about my kids, but he says, hey, Birdie. Like, most people don't name their kids Birdie, so I don't know if a lot of people caught that that's what he was saying, but I think he still got the idea, right? That he was talking to the kid.
Yeah, I think you got from the crowd's reaction that that's the kid's name.
Yeah. Justin Floor in the chat says Brian will keep bringing up MJF's ex-fiance to annoy him. So if they spent next week where maybe Bryan Danielson's on the attack saying like, yeah, well, fuck you. Because we've seen Bryan Danielson do that in a face capacity where he'll just ream the heel and get the heel raging pissed. I guess that might be the best scenario we can go moving forward here to keep stalling, because that's what they're going to have to do is stall for another week.
Well, I tell you what, let's not forget the subtle detail of Bryan Danielson's character. He still walks out from the heel side. I know he's babyface in this story, but he has yet to ever go back to the babyface tunnel once he started the feud with Hangman. So don't think that he wouldn't fucking bring her out and start making out with her.
I know we like to talk storylines here, but if I'm pulling back the curtain, that's just Bryan Danielson trying to be a rebel. That's him being like, I'm going to fucking walk out over here because like your rules.
Well, he's mentioned it before. Remember when he had the injury and he said, hey, I've got my opponent lined up for Forbidden Door. You want me to tell you? And everyone's like, yeah. He's like, you forgot that I walked out the heel side? I'm not telling you. You'll find out at the pay-per-view, and just walked off. So again, I'm just saying little details that hopefully we get a payoff on. Hey, so then we go backstage. Let's move it on here. So we go backstage. Jamie Hayter is back there with Britt Baker, DMD. And she says, well, gotta wrestle at Revolution, don't I? So who am I gonna wrestle? Should it be Ruby Soho, who's fucking generic and boring, but has fun tattoos and a cool walkout song? Or is it gonna be Saraya, who's, past her prime 6 years and moves slower than Matt Hardy? I don't know. Well, how about both? It'll be a triple threat. And so that's what we get.
Nobody moves slower than Matt Hardy.
Have you seen Saraya's matches?
Yeah.
Hey, Tim. Yeah. Have you seen Saraya's matches?
All right, hold on. I'm going to petition that you wear the glasses that way all the time now. Bring them.
That kind of hurt my nose, but maybe.
Yeah, for anybody that missed, we're live. We went live halfway through the show. Check out the YouTube for the full episode later. Tom's got glasses now. Tom's joined us old guys here.
Eyes are dying. Isn't that great?
Tom's got glasses. I've got custom orthotic insoles, right? It's fun. We're old guys now.
Here we are. All right, so then we go back into the ring and we do this tag team battle royal, which was not explained well because I didn't fucking get what the hell 2.0 was doing the entire time. Until then it made sense, right?
Jeffrey Sills in the chat. Jeffrey Sills in the chat earlier said Tim and Tom should be the fourth team in that fatal four-way in Revolution, only for Tim to get hit with the stroke, and Tom is getting that Jay Lethal finisher he hates. If they're going to pay us, I'll take that spot.
Well, yeah, I don't even know if I'm that good of an actor to wait that fucking long for Jay Lethal to run past me again, do a fucking stupid whatever it is, and then a cutter that everyone does. Man, I tell you what, after Max Caster ethered Jay Lethal, I can't look at him again. When he said, you've been in this game for so long, you were the one that was mimicking Macho Man. Now you've been in the game for so long and no one mimics you. I was like, God damn, you're done. Like, just hang him up. Because, woo. And then when Cody, if you recall, go back to Cody's last promo in AEW before he left for WWE, he talks about, I might not get a chance to cut this promo, so I'm going to do it here. And he talks about Jay Lethal, and he's like, it's the only cutter in the business you want to stay away from? God damn. That's also when he said, "Oh, Brody King has the audacity to come here and call himself Brody because of Brody Lee," you know? And it's like, easy. We've had other Jeffs, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not exclusive, you know.
Yeah.
But anyhow,
Very
Jay
common
Lethal
name.
Jay Lethal just keeps on taking L's this entire time. And here's where he took an L, because this was fucking dumb. So we get this tag team battle royal.
Now,
Team
the
TNA.
match, though, I mean, first of all, the crowd helped. The crowd was into it from the jump. But I love a good battle royal when it's done well, and they told a lot of good stories in this. So I thought overall this was fun.
I thought this should have been longer, and some of the things should have been featured more. For example, Roosh and the Lucha Bros. That was fucking cool. And we got it for like 42 seconds.
Yeah.
Right? You had Aussie Open in here, who I didn't know was on the AEW roster, fucking just be forgot about. Like, oh, hey, they're going back to Australia. See ya. And you got Mark Briscoe fucking running out here like a psychopath, taking out Josh Woods, who I thought at the time was in the match, but again, because nothing was fucking explained, it was actually Ari Daivari and Tony Nese.
Yeah.
What?
First of all, that aside, if we can get more of that out of Mark Briscoe, if every time he's in a feud with somebody, he's just going to randomly run out and find them and just in whatever they're doing, he doesn't care what segment it is, what professionalism. He's just like, I'm bringing the fight to you. I would love it.
Oh my God. This just came to my mind just off the top of my head. Think of we're trying to kill ourselves and each other type of feud with Mark Briscoe and Darby Allin. Could you imagine just them fucking going at it everywhere? That would be the shit. Because Mark Briscoe, because what I was thinking is like, you put Mark Briscoe in that role where he's going to get you whenever you don't expect it. You have to have kind of a monster. And I was like, oh, Samoa Joe, that would be cool. But then Samoa Joe kind of did that with Darby Allin. And then I thought, Darby Allin and Mark Briscoe, Jesus Christ, those two would go fucking wild. But anyhow, so we get to the very end. The team that should have won gets eliminated. The Best Friends and Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal are your fucking winners here.
They showed a clip of that promo of the Best Friends that they should have showed more of.
Oh,
where they acknowledged that they were yelling, and then they didn't know why they were yelling, and they were like, I guarantee. And he's like, no, I shouldn't guarantee, because if we're being honest, like, it's weird, it's crazy, and you never know, but like, we're going to try really hard.
That's the best. They are so good.
Yeah.
It has to be something in their deal where they're like, hey, we actually don't want to work every week, so we're going to take, 2 weeks off in February and a week off in April. And so Tony Khan is just like, all right, well, then we're just not going to push you, because they fucking still kill it when given the opportunity every time.
Jeffrey Sills in the chat says Aussie Open should have won. And man, Aussie Open might as well close for me. I don't know nothing.
Well, no, I mean, look, they're better than Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal.
Well, yes. Anybody should have won over any of the teams at all.
That's what I'm saying.
I would have taken Josh Woods and well, maybe not Josh Woods and Daivari.
Tony Nese.
Yeah, Tony Nese. Yeah, whatever it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So
who was Daivari a tag team with? I forgot. Who was he with?
Tony Nese.
Oh, Tony Nese. It was Daivari and Tony Nese, right?
And Josh Woods was out there.
He was outside the.
But again, I thought he was in the match because they were all out there, and so I was fucking confused, and I don't. It was convoluted. Another just fucking. Hey, you know what'd be cool? Just to have everyone start out there right now, and then yuck. So anyhow, those fucking people are going to take the pin at Revolution, won the match. And then what happened after that? The House of Black. The House of Black does a promo and they say, we want the trios titles. Now, we don't like to talk about backstage and all of that stuff because we don't know. However, I do want to say this. I was planning on going next month to Glory Pro in St. Louis. I was going to just pick you up. We were going to go. You didn't know that yet, but I was going to go. Nice. Eddie Kingston was going to be in the main event. That's why I was like, let's fucking meet Eddie Kingston again. He said he'd do the interview if we saw him again. He liked us. He FaceTimed with Sharkbait, all the stuff, right? Then I got an email on Monday. Unfortunately, Eddie Kingston is injured when he had that match with Jay White for New Japan. He won't be able to make the Glory Pro show because of an injury. Sad. So now that makes sense of why the House of Black just kind of dropped the Eddie Kingston Ortiz thing.
Yeah.
And now is saying Trios Championship. Again, storyline wise, doesn't make sense. But because I got that email, I was more forgiving of this.
Yeah,
which
well, but also, if I'm just watching Dynamite, it doesn't feel like a storyline departure because I haven't seen too much of that, right?
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying.
But my takeaway from it then was, all right, here we go. House of Black's back, right? Doing their spooky promo again. And I feel just like we need them to hit on something, right? I need them to win these trios titles or something. I need them to do something.
So here's where I have a little bit of confidence. Two reasons why. One, it's with the Elite. And the Elite are executive vice presidents that when they say, we're going to make this a main event, Tony Khan will be like, okay, sure. Right. So they're going to get the opportunity to hit. Like you said, they're going to get the opportunity to be full, maximum, scary, spooky, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? So that gives me some confidence of maybe they can do something. Also, as we've seen in the past, the Young Bucks, when they won the championships the second time around, held it for 2 weeks, lost it to Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland, and then just moved on, right? So if we do have whatever's planned for part 2 of the Elite, them losing to the House of Black, they're not going to put their foot down and be like, no, we got to keep these titles. They're open to doing business. And it seems like they like all of these guys. They like Malachi, they like Brody King, and they like Buddy Matthews breaking kayfabe, like in the back, right? So I have confidence that if they are going to be something, this is their chance. Like you can't miss on this one.
Yes, I like Jeffrey Sills, or no, it's Justin Flores' comment here because I'm going to piggyback off of it. He says, whose spooky promos are finally going to mean something? The House of Black or Bray Wyatt? And I need the House of Black to be less Bray Wyatt and more Ministry of Darkness, right? I need something to happen here. I need them to like do something to somebody that makes us go like, oh, right? Like they need to do something a little dark and a little evil, right? Right now, you're just talking spooky, and you guys look like you want to be goth kids, right? And yeah, I mean, you're going in there and fighting, and you're tough, and you're having wrestling matches, but everybody is. I need to do something that we go, Jesus, guys, too far. Right? Like let's do something.
They flirted with that a little bit. Remember when Brody King won the Battle Royal and was choking out Darby Allin and then just dropped him like a sack of potatoes and was like, fuck that guy. That was cool.
Let's get
right?
some
Stuff like
nearly
that.
satanic rituals going on here.
Yeah. Sacrifice the Christian boys. Remember that, the Christian AF? Yeah.
Sacrifice them.
Crazy.
That'd
be crazy.
Hang them upside down or something. Right?
Oh man. Hey, so I'm watching Ring of Honor because I told you I got the Honor Club, you know. I'm watching past Ring of Honor. There was a fucking segment, Tim. I have to show this to you. I'm gonna probably try to find it and send it to you. There was a fucking segment where Jimmy Jacobs, and I think it was a Briscoe. Now I'm forgetting on who it was, but they cut this fucking guy up, right? He's bleeding pretty bad. Then they fucking tie his legs together, put him up in the air, hanging upside down. Jimmy Jacobs is cutting a promo while the guy's blood is going on his white suit. And he's like, we're taking over. Everything here is ours. And just blood drops are just hitting him as he's cutting it. And I was like, this could be the fucking coolest thing I've ever seen. Like, I thought the motherfucker up there was dead because he was bleeding so much. And Jimmy Jacobs' white suit, which was a fucking key point, is just, it was so
something.
Cool. So
it doesn't even have to be that. Like, let's start, like, just doing something to somebody. I understand it's 2023. We may have to like meet TBS's requirements or whatever it is.
No,
but like, let's do something, right? Lock somebody in a cage with the bats or something, right? Like, let's do something to where we're like, oh man, these guys are dark. Yeah. They're twisted, right? These are the guys that are going to stab you in the back alley when your car breaks down or whatever it is.
Side note, side quest here. fuck out of here. I'm so goddamn tired in 2023 that everyone's acting like things can't be said or things can't. We can fucking do everything.
Of course we can.
Everything that we did way back in 1998 is being done right now. The only thing is now there's consequences and people can write you back on Twitter. But you can still do all the fucking shit. You want to have bikini matches? You could fucking do it. You want to do hog pin matches with Triple H and Phineas Godwin? Fucking do it. Like, you can do whatever you want. It's so fucking dumb how we act like we're a better society. We fucking suck as people, man.
Kidnapping the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and smearing them with some blood from goats and chickens, as Jeffrey's still saying in the chat here. We can do that. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's get weird.
Yeah, and we can, because fucking every channel does it. There's no difference. We could have Jerry Springer right fucking now doing fist fights with trailer park kids, and fucking people get upset and it'll have high ratings.
I don't follow this stuff, but I remember CBS for a long time bragging about being the number one show or the number one network in the evenings, right? And they show a lot of them Law and Orders and stuff where they have people dismembered and shit on the show, right? Like, and rape and like all this, like they show the gore. Like, let's if we're doing the House of Black, and these guys are that, right? I'm to believe that the type that they have goat skulls and stuff hanging out, and they're doing seances and stuff, right? Like that, like they believe their own shit. So why aren't they doing something that those folks would be doing here?
Yeah.
Why are they just talking? Why aren't they doing something?
I'm just tired of this notion, and it's not a pro wrestling criticism. It's a society criticism that we can't do anything. Oh my God. Could you imagine if they made 40-year-old virgin right now? Yeah, I fucking can. Yeah. Every fucking movie they've ever made could be made again. It doesn't anyhow. That's side note. Then we go to Tony Khan has a big announcement, and let's do a quick side quest and talk about what we're going to talk about. And let's do that now. So Tony Khan was in the news a little bit this week before Dynamite. And the reason was going into WWE Elimination Chamber, which was taking place in Montreal. They decide, WWE, that they want to do a segment with Ariel Helwani, who did a voiceover for him. And then they said, hey, we're going to put him in the crowd, which he's done at other events of UFC's, Bellator, Strike Forces. I think he's even done an AEW where he like gave a match prediction when they were, he did a match prediction during COVID for, I think it was Jericho and Orange Cassidy. And he does this segment here in Montreal because he's from Montreal. Canadians are Canadians. They pat themselves on the back. They love
Canada.
They love Canada, right? And so he's doing this segment about Sami Zayn's going to be the fucking man. And on Twitter, Tony Khan acts like an infant and says, Ariel, and mentions Ariel, you're a fraud. You're about as legitimate as Tony Schiavone, which kind of is not great when you talk about your own guy. You could have said Michael Cole, but you said Tony Schiavone, which was weird. And he even mentioned Tony Schiavone, I think. Then, after the show, Ariel responds and says, thanks for watching, Tony. And by the way, Schiavone, don't believe what the snowman has to tell you. I think you're a legend. Alluding to snowman not being that Tony Khan likes the winter, that Tony Khan likes the cocaine.
Might like the winters in Colombia.
Right. And so then Tony Khan says, keep up your unbiased journalism. That's how it ended. So then from there, WWE takes shots at Tony Khan using Ariel Helwani, saying, here's Ariel Helwani in the crowd with George St. Pierre, the unbiased journalist who asked the hard questions, even though you don't want to answer them. And then Ariel goes on the MMA Hour, which is on Mondays, and talks about the situation and just runs down Tony Khan, calls him just the same as Dana White, calls him a fraud as well, says he doesn't know what journalism is. And then that's kind of where we leave it. So I wanted to talk about that because you've obviously heard of Ariel Helwani. We've talked about him in past episodes, but you may not be familiar, distinctly with his work. Obviously, Tony Khan, because we talk about AEW each week. What do you think about this whole mess that I just described?
Man, Tony Khan would do well to have maybe a publicist or media relations person tell him, hey, maybe it's time to pull yourself back out of, of being on screen, running your own Twitter, doing that sort of thing. That would be my professional advice to Tony Khan. I'm not a CEO of anything, so maybe he doesn't listen to my professional advice, but hey, whatever. But yes, first of all, with Ariel Helwani versus Tony Khan, these two have clearly just disliked each other. I don't know. Maybe they're battling for the same girl or whatever, right? Like they just like, so that person that you just never liked. Like that's the feel I get between these two.
Well, so the origin of their kind of disdain for each other, if you want to call it that, is MJF does the Ariel Helwani show and does an interview an hour long where he kind of, as MJF does, blends the character in real life into his answers. And as the story goes from both sides, I guess all three sides, because MJF, I think, also confirmed it, MJF didn't get that interview cleared with AEW to be on Ariel Helwani. Now, Ariel Helwani, I'm familiar with. I'm one of his original Substack supporters, so I get to do private Zoom calls with him from time to time. I've watched his stuff since AOL Fan House in 2009, all the stuff, right? And Ariel is notorious for, I don't mess with PR. I'm not calling your fucking agent. I'm not calling your manager. I'm calling you. If I want to talk to you, that's who I call, right? I'm talking to you. And so that's how he handles the pro wrestlers as well. Is like, I'll call you. You want to do it? Get clearance from whoever you need to, but I ain't talking to him. So what's up? And so Ariel was just like, I'm not doing that. So that's kind of where the friction started. Then Tony Khan does an interview with Ariel Helwani, and Ariel Helwani, who does ask hard-hitting questions, generally speaking, which we'll get to, keeps hammering home brawl out. Hey, what happened? Hey, well, how'd you feel? And every turn, Tony Khan's like, I'm not fucking answering. Not answering. I'm not answering. Yeah. I'm not answering. Then a few weeks later, Ariel Helwani on his MMA show takes questions from viewers. And we still there?
Yep, we're here.
There you go. Okay. And he gets the question of, hey, what was the most difficult interview you've ever done? And again, he's been doing interviews for 15 years. And he goes, you know which one wasn't the greatest? Tony Khan. And so then that's where kind of the AEW stands came after Ariel, right? And so then fast forward to this situation. So that's kind of the backstory of them.
Yeah, well, so to me, it's just, and Jeffrey Sills even says this, and you said this at the time, where you said, keep that same energy you kept with Tony Khan and asked Triple H about his father-in-law. Ariel is a WWE fanboy, and Tony called him out on it. And yes, I mean, you're right. The thing with Ariel Helwani, and I don't know him enough. Like, I don't follow MMA like you do, so I don't know of Ariel Helwani in that nature other than I know who he is, right? Especially knowing you. In this situation, he has always felt to me pompous to a level that, like, didn't feel like, I don't want to say he didn't deserve it, but in this idea of like you're saying, well, I don't call publicists and agents. I talk to you and then you clear it. Like, to me, Ariel Helwani's not a name that, like, you can be upset when you get some blowback for that stance, because that's the way everybody in the fucking industry does business, man. So, like, if you're saying you're not doing that, cool, but you have to understand when people are like, oh, well, then I can't fucking, I don't respect you, right? Like, then you have to take that on the fucking chin, man, because you made that decision. It sounds like he's mad that somebody said, like, oh, hey, yeah, fuck you, by the way, for not playing ball like everybody else, right? Like, that's kind of what was said here. And yeah, to me, it's always been that, like, there's been something there between him and Tony Khan that calling him unbiased in this regard in pro wrestling is just completely false. On the Tony Khan side of things, man, this guy feels like exactly like what he appears to be. A kid who's grown up with a lot of money and never had anybody telling him no, and now is in some serious things without somebody overlooking him, and he's on his own, and he doesn't quite know how to handle it like an adult executive professional.
Yeah. So I've got a lot of thoughts on this, so buckle up. Strap
Right.
it in
Yeah,
right here
yeah.
because we're gonna go on a ride here, right? So this is kind of how I feel on both sides. First, general statement, so that if you don't follow anything else I say, this is how I feel. They're both fucking wrong in this situation, and
Mhm.
it's too small from both of them to act how they are. So, from the Ariel side, Ariel Helwani, yes, from the MMA world, he asks hard hitting questions. He puts people's feet to the fire and he'll get things awkward to make sure that he gets the answers that people are wanting. That's why he's so popular. That's why he is the 13-time consecutive MMA journalist of the year, according to the MMA awards that they do every year in Vegas, right? There you go. Right now, coming over to pro wrestling, as you mentioned, if the pro wrestling world says we got to go through this way, then you fucking play ball to a certain regard. Like, I get you do it your way, but when someone says, hey, we didn't like that, as you mentioned, take it on the chin, right?
Well, and just
Now going,
don't, even if you're not going to play ball, don't act shocked and act like you're the victim when people then say, "Now fuck that guy, he's a dick," because like
right.
you meant to be one.
Yeah. So now what Jeffrey Still says about the Triple H interview, which is causing a lot of friction with pro wrestling fans. I side with the pro wrestling fans because, as mentioned, Triple H, he does the interview for an hour, ask fucking zero questions about Vince McMahon. Zero fucking questions to Triple H, who just took over that position from Vince McMahon, right? Now, fast forward to this situation. This is where he looks like a fucking tool. Is for him to be like, oh, what a legend, Michael Cole, for saying that line. And I popped the boys. He's using pro wrestling terms. Well, I popped the boys in the back and they're giving high fives. I just want to be like, brother. And then he says that Tony Khan is just like Dana White. And I just want to like, brother, do you know who the fucking largest shareholder is of this fucking company that you're holding the flag for? It's a sexual predator. And if you want to compare things, I'm going to take the cokehead over the sexual predator 11 times out of 10. So I don't know what the fuck you're so boastful about that WWE has your fucking back. Because who the fuck cares about those monsters? Those fucking monsters, right?
And they only have your back because they can snide and point at a shared enemy for now. As soon as that shared enemy's gone, we know how that goes.
Yeah. So there's where it's like, man, you did fuck up the Triple H interview for what it was when then you go after Tony Khan trying to get those answers, which I didn't necessarily hate as a reporter, as an interviewer. That was the story that he wanted to talk about. That's the story that people wanted to talk about. You ask the questions, you get the no, fine. But then, like Jeffrey Still says, keep that same energy when talking to Triple H instead of, hey, everything's cool, isn't it? What's it like to be creative now? Now, another layer of this story, Nick Khan, now CEO, even though not largest shareholder, Nick Khan was the agent for Ariel Helwani before he left and took over in WWE. So there's also some personal friendships that he has in WWE.
So by nature,
again,
you kind of can't be unbiased.
And then on top of that, one thing that Ariel likes to say, which is not true, unfortunately, is he likes to say, I'm not a pro wrestling journalist here. Like, I just like pro wrestling. And when they ask me, I come on, and that's kind of fine, generally speaking. And that's fine for anyone, right? You want to go get fucking Tom Brokaw to do a story for you? Cool. But when Ariel Helwani goes onto Twitter last month and says, per my sources, WWE will not be selling to Saudi Arabia. The deal is not done. Now you're a fucking wrestling journalist. Yeah. Now you're covering wrestling stories. So
Ariel Helwani has always struck me as that guy who, you know, remember the phrase, he thinks his shit don't stink, right? Mm-hmm. Where it's like, well, I can say that. I push the hard questions. But anytime somebody says anything negative, it's like, it's like an affront. It's that's the vibe I've got from at all times. Yeah. He can dish it, but can't take it.
And that's fair. That has been a criticism. In other situations than this, I think I've sided more often with Ariel. And in this one, I've sided with neither one of them. Like if I had the opportunity, I'd smack both of them. It'd be like that, right? Now,
it's just like you guys should just not hang out and never see each other and not talk about each other.
Or talk about each other.
Clearly don't like each other. Just don't like each other. Everybody knows it. You don't have to prove anything. Nobody's going to think you're cooler. Just walk away, guys. Just don't ever
And
talk.
we both like you. Yeah, right? So, like,
Right.
for the people like me, I still like Ariel. I still like Tony Khan, right? So now let's flip it onto the Tony Khan side. As you mentioned, it seems like he is a guy who has gone his entire life with saying, like, oh, yeah, well, my dad will say that I fucking can do it. So what are you going to do about it, right? Now, this is what I'll say about that. Outside of just running this pro wrestling organization, he is also an employee of the Jacksonville Jags and of the soccer team that I don't know the name of.
Whatever
Fulham, I think,
other businesses that they own.
or soccer, right? Yeah, whatever that is, right? So
there's probably 15 other boards that he sits on that we don't even know. Exactly. Who knows?
Right. But with that being said, don't talk out of pocket when you're also an employee of those other companies. Like, that's when you have to fucking grow up and get off of Twitter in that regard. Now, he didn't cuss him out or he didn't do it, but it's also, you got yourself into hot water when you shouldn't have even said anything to start with, right? The second thing I'll say about Tony Khan is, man, I could pull up easily on a Google search probably 6 or 7 fucking photos of you and our good old buddy dumb shit Meltzer. And he says he's a wrestling journalist, but I'm pretty sure you haven't called him biased and all of that. So maybe shut the fuck up when Ariel just shows up on SmackDown.
Yeah, so, I wouldn't hate if... my advice is just Tony Khan just needs to maybe be behind the scenes, right? Somebody needs to get through to Tony Khan that, like, hey, bro, like, you only make yourself look worse every time you go out there.
He does well when he does the, Darth Vader is dead. That means it's time for Dynamite. Tune in right now on TBS.
Or even what we got here. Hey, we've got a huge announcement. Let me bring in Adam Cole to make that announcement. Right? Great. Fine. That's what a fucking CEO does, by the way. Mm-hmm. They come on, they go, thanks, really appreciate everyone being here. This is a big deal. Let me explain why. Maybe you even make the announcement if it's something that's not, too in depth, but or you go, so let me bring up the VP of marketing to fucking,
Mm-hmm. Here's the details.
More of this, more of that, Tony. Yeah.
Yeah. And so again, coming out of this, I still like Ariel. I still listen to the MMA Hour. I still listen to his weigh-in shows on Spotify Live. Tony Khan, I still like his tweets when he talks about, hey, we were the #1 show last night, or hey, we've got a big announcement next Wednesday, all that stuff. So it's not like I dislike anyone more. It's just like, you guys need to fucking grow up. Like, it looks stupid on both your parts, and you're better than that. So that's how I feel. So now let's get into the big announcement.
Are they better than that? Are they better than that?
I mean, yeah, well, I thought, right? They should be better than that, I should say. So let's get into this big announcement. So Tony Khan's standing there with Renee Paquette, and he goes, I got to...
Or let's get them in the room with a big bag of Coke, and let's just see either they're going to come out, one of them's not going to make it out of there, or they're going to be best friends.
Again, my thing is, like, the Coke is irrelevant. You're defending a sexual predator, Ariel.
Yeah, again, like, okay, we can all make jokes about him being a cokehead and everything, but like, I don't know what Ariel Helwani does, but man, you smoke something, you drink something, like, come on, man. Like,
well, and even if you do or don't, who cares? Like, if you get arrested for it, you probably have a problem. Like, go help.
Right.
But look at this, brother. What are we doing? Huh?
Yeah.
I have 8 more of these. I'm fucking in trouble, right? Like, I'm not going to probably do some good things. But this is fucking legal. The only reason Coke has a bad reputation is because it's illegal. Shut the fuck up. It's fun. Be a fucking adult. Do some fun things.
Yeah, have you ever done Coke? It's awesome.
Yeah, it's really
Allegedly,
fun.
So I hear, yeah.
Really fun. Right. Anyhow, so the big announcement here. Tony Khan says to Renee Paquette.
We need a Tony Khan sponsor of the week. That's what we need here on the Spanish Announce Table. Instead of a beer sponsor of the week, we need a Tony Khan episode sponsor of the week.
I'm fine with either one. Just
I'm saying
tableshow@gmail.com. We'll talk to you. Hey, so Tony Khan is here and he goes, hey, I got a big announcement. Renee Paquette's like, okay, what is it? And he goes, well, let's have Adam Cole fucking say it. Bye. He just leaves.
Yeah. We got to tweet the table about this one also. So use hashtag tweet the table throughout the week.
Let me get there first. So as you mentioned, yes, Tony Khan as a CEO, and CEOs across many different companies will do we have a big announcement. 9 times out of 10, though, they will say the announcement and then the details is filled in by someone else.
Right.
This one, Tony Khan is just like, yeah, bye.
Yeah, why were you there? Yeah, let me bring in Adam Cole. Yeah, that one was weird.
Yeah, so if you want to bring up the...
All right, so use hashtag tweet the table on Twitter. We are at Table Show if you want to follow us, which you should. And we'll read them right here on the show. And this one is from at Justin Floor, who's in the chat live with us on YouTube. He says, I don't know which is more exciting to see, a Tony Khan big announcement or Ollie Williams telling the weather. Hashtag tweet the table.
It's cold.
Yeah. That was an odd thing for him to be there, right? He didn't make the announcement, and then Adam Cole comes on to, like you said, fill in the details, which, again, even if that were the case, Adam Cole isn't like an executive vice president like the Young Bucks and Cody were, right? Like, am I to understand that?
Well, so this is me just being a conspiracy theorist in a fun way. I don't believe in those bullshit ones, but in the conspiracy theory in the fun way. Let's go back to the Forbidden Door. Do you remember who made that announcement? Wasn't Tony Khan. It was Adam Cole. Adam Cole was on the big screen. Now, the president of New Japan and Tony Khan shook hands like, okay, great. But Adam Cole gave you all the fucking details. So maybe, right? This is the second one where Adam Cole's giving all the legwork. Now, if I have the pen here or the pencil, right? This is how you should have done it. Tony Khan goes, hey, we have a new show. It's AEW All Access. It's going to debut next month. And the first episode is going to be with this guy. And then Adam Cole walks in and says, yeah, so next month I'm on the premiere episode of All Access, which will also be my return to the ring. Like, that's how you do it. You have Tony Khan fucking say the thing. And then Adam Cole, and you say Adam Cole's going to be in the first episode. Isn't that great? Here he is to talk about it. Like, that's the way you fucking do it, idiot. But nonetheless, the announcement is AEW All Access, which they gave the details about, and it really feels like it's roads to the top without the roads.
Yes. Remember what did TNA did a show that was like after...
Yeah, but that was scripted.
That was a bit in kayfabe world too. That's true. This won't be.
And again, this is going to be like Total Divas. I would expect more Total Divas than the TNA show that you were talking about. But it feels like roads to the top, except for, hey, let's just do it with everyone else randomly all the time. And Eddie Kingston went onto Twitter and he said, "Yeah, I'm in this. I didn't think I wanted to be in it. I cussed all the time, so I wouldn't have to be in it." And they said, "No, you made it. It was great." And he was like, "Shit." So Eddie Kingston, have that to look forward to. Here's what I'll say about this, though. Then I'll get your comments in just a second. You couldn't have done 2 fucking hours of Rampage? Remember my Christmas wish? 2 hours of Rampage? They gave you another hour, and instead of adding on and giving time to the Murder Hawk Monster and Miro and House of Black and Eddie Kingston and Ortiz, you say, let's do an All Access show. That's what will get the people in. Like, fuck out of here, man.
Yeah, I don't know what this is. I'm not too excited about it, but
I think it'll be fun, especially if Eddie Kingston's in it. If Eddie Kingston's in it,
I think it'll be fine, right? But it's also, I don't think it'll be can't miss TV, right?
If Eddie Kingston's smoking cigarettes and cussing, that's must see TV.
That's yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, it just feels like it'll be, I don't know. I mean, hey, if we can get some storyline advancements going on in there, maybe somehow, I don't know,
Exactly. And also, this is again where I did a rant on this, and I love rants. I got to the point where I do rants so much that my wife knows them, and she just will go point to her head and goes like, "It's in here. I know. Like, just move on." So I don't even get to rant to her. So I get to rant on here. So here's the rant here is shut the fuck up, Meltzer and Alvarez and Keller and Sean Ross Sapp with your fucking ratings bullshit. Oh, Rampage is now down 15% year over year. Well, they just got another fucking show. They're probably doing goddamn right. Right? Yeah, so, like, okay. Could you shut the fuck up with your 1990s way of viewing how a television company is doing? You fucking dinosaurs when it comes to 2023. Jesus Christ. they're getting more money to do
Yeah.
more shows. Wouldn't
Do
that say
more
they're
content.
fucking successful?
Yep.
Yeah, you dumb shits. Can't stand those fucking guys. Shocker. I've said that a million times too. But fuck those guys. I'd love to interview one of them and just be like, you're a hack. You're a fucking hack who has some fucking friends backstage, then just says what they say. Fuck you. Oh, but on Twitter, look at this. Oh, per source. Who's your fucking source? Kenny Omega, who's just having fun with you, you dumb shits. Go piss your pants, you fucking nerds. Hey, so then we go to our main event.
Yeah.
And as we talked about, it is Evil Uno taking on Jon Moxley. And Evil Uno fucking brought the thunder with this match.
He did. We talked earlier about how great Evil Uno has been and like how he's impressed us more and more each time we see him. And I mean, he held his own here. He went toe to toe with Jon Moxley, was all over the place. Hey, we got a Jon Moxley match where Jon Moxley didn't bleed, but we got the other guy bleeding.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
So, you know, if there's a knock to be had on it, I think it's there. But the way they did this one too was just like, Jesus, man, he was squeezing the blood out of him.
Yeah. Yeah, this was fucking cool. Here's the other thing that I'll applaud Evil Uno on. Let's all be honest here. He's not getting off the bus looking like Brian Cage, right? Like, I'm not trying to body shame anyone, but he ain't a body guy, as they say, right? And so for him to get his first main event opportunity on Dynamite, at least to the best of my recollection, I think maybe he did a tag match where it was like Hangman and the Dark Order versus the Elite, but you know what I mean? A singles match that showcases him. For him to say, guess what, motherfuckers, I'm going to take this main event opportunity and you're going to see a different side of me, and takes his fucking jacket off. He did this bare chested. And that takes a lot of guts to be like, this is my main event and you're going to see me in a different, complete way. Credit to him for doing that. Also credit to him for fucking doing moves that I don't think he's ever done before, at least in AEW, where he does that fucking front flip off the apron onto the floor on Jon Moxley. As you mentioned, he got cut pretty deep. Jon Moxley squeezing the fucking head out of him like it's fucking ketchup out of a bottle. Just, here we go. And he brought it. It wasn't long. It was about, 10 minutes or so. And Moxley gets the victory, as he should. But Evil Uno added that credibility to be like, you know what? I think he could beat some people. And so... Yeah. I thought everyone did well. Now, post-match is a thing that I think is interesting. You had talked about this earlier. Blackpool Combat Club seems like maybe they're flirting with the heel side of doing things. And they come out and they start, taking the boots to old Evil Uno because fuck it, I guess why not? That brings out Dark Order. Then that brings out Hangman. And as you mentioned, Hangman almost gets the buckshot on him, and all of a sudden, I don't know, because his shoe came untied, Jon Moxley's fucking bleeding. So that's how we end the show. What'd you think?
Yeah, I think this was a good way to stall, right? We again, I think we've told the story of why they're mad at each other with Moxley and Hangman, but they worked in this Evil Uno thing, and I think they did it to perfection on this one, right? We got Evil Uno built up a little bit. Moxley still continues to look badass, like nobody can touch him. And here we go, right? And now we've got this extra thing of, hey, man, both Hangman and Evil Uno have both said, don't come out. No matter what happens, don't come out. And both betrayed each other in that regard. But they're both doing it for each other, right? So where does that go in later on the backside? That should be interesting. But I liked it, yeah.
Yeah, and if you recall from that promo earlier in the night with Evil Uno and Hangman, Evil Uno called Hangman on a shit when he said, when you tell us to stay back, I take that as, and I'm paraphrasing here, I take that as you're saying that we're not good enough to help you. And we fucking are. And I'm going to prove that tonight. So that's another aspect of like, hey, man, we're not just your pity friends. Like, we're your legit friends here. And it's that great story where we haven't really dug too deep into it, but that great story of like, Hangman, we're your fucking friends. Like, we will always be here for you. And Hangman finally accepting friendship because he got
Yeah.
burned so bad from the Elite.
Yeah, well,
That's some
right.
fun
It's
stuff.
always been his fallback friends, right? The friends that he
Yeah.
hangs out with when he doesn't have other cooler friends to hang out with. And
Well-
Evil even stuck in there at one of those discussions where he was like, "And if you were Dark Order, you would understand, because you're not Dark Order," which he's never claimed to be, but
Right.
that was very specifically, you're over here and we're over here.
And again, if you want to psychoanalyze the Hangman character, which can be fun from time to time, but also it's like analyzing a Bray Wyatt promo where it's like, shut the fuck up, right? But if you want to, you could analyze this that says Hangman's never had true friends, right? When he was in the Elite, he was essentially a young boy who was carrying the bags for the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. And it was finally until he had a crisis of conscience that they kicked him to the curb. Then he finds the Dark Order, but he doesn't trust them because he never had friends. So he doesn't know what it is to rely on a Evil Uno or a John Silver and things like that. And so that's the interesting part if they want to go down that road, because again, Hangman still, I think, has, even though all that was overshadowed by real circumstances, in kayfabe world, Hangman still has that burden that lives with him where we could have been the trios champion, but I hit John Silver with my buckshot lariat and had to watch him get pinned. Like, maybe I'm not good enough to even be friends with these guys. We got some fun shit to say if we wanted to, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So that was AEW Dynamite.
I thought it was good. I thought it was a decent one. Again, I think a lot of it is stalling to get to Revolution, and I think we've got another week to do, so it'll be interesting to see if they can come out with anything decent here for just be another stall mode. But, I mean, I liked it overall. I thought it was decent.
Yeah, I thought it was really fun.
Yeah.
Nothing, again, was bad except for Chris Jericho, but Chris Jericho's typically bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
The only other big thing that happened that I feel like we should talk about is, man, Sami Zayn didn't quite pull it out at Elimination Chamber, which I don't think we would. And yeah.
Tim, did you see that?
What?
It was a shooting star. It was a shooting star that's now
it's gone
evaporated in the sky. See, you every time they get the opportunity, they prove it to us. We had the coolest fucking story in their fucking last 6 years in the Sami Zayn bloodline thing.
Cooler story since the Bryan Danielson or the Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Kofi Mania. You could maybe even say Kofi Mania if you want to stretch, right? But like, yeah, it's definitely their coolest story in a while, right? And it didn't make any fucking sense, Tim. And this is why. It makes sense that Roman Reigns would win, right? But here's where, like, let's take a step out of kayfabe for a second. But eventually, Roman Reigns is going to lose this championship, right? So why not do the first Sami Zayn match somewhere else? Do the rematch in Montreal, get Sami Zayn to win the fucking championship, and then also get Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens to embrace in their home city. Because now they're going to embrace, right? Because then we go to Raw and Kevin Owens, to his character's credit, is like, no, man, I said I was done with you. If you want help, go ask your friend Jay. And then just walks off, which is a baller fucking move from Kevin Owens, right? But we know, as grizzled old wrestling fans, that they're going to come together. But we're going to get the fucking hug in what? Tempe, Arizona? Fucking Syracuse, New York? Like, it's not going to be the fucking same. So if you planned it correctly, you could have had all of that shit in this iconic moment where Canada is going to fucking lose their brain, and it's fucking an all-time moment. And now, nope, gotta have Cody, the fucking guy that got booed out of the last company, gotta push that motherfucker. He makes good decisions. Have you seen his neck tattoo? Fucking what? That guy? Not Sami Zayn.
It all feels really underwhelming, but so does, that's why we stopped watching a lot of that company. I feel like it's always underwhelming.
My wife asked me, because we heard a commercial on the radio when we were driving somewhere. I forget where we were going, but we heard it was a ticket giveaway. Someone won 2 tickets to Smackdown. They're coming here on St. Patrick's Day, Friday night, right? And Emily's like, you going to go to that? And I said, you know what? I'm not. And she's like, oh, what? I go, outside of Sami Zayn specifically, the whole
Nothing
fucking
else.
thing is
Yeah.
boring.
Yeah.
It's fucking boring.
Yeah. I stopped going to their events here a long time ago for that reason. I'm like, man, every time I'm there, I'm checking my phone for 3 hours and I'm ready to go.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
get a cool 650 splash from Ricochet, and
Yeah.
that's it. And so, like,
I don't know.
that Wednesday is when Dynamite comes. That weekend, here's, you want to know how I'm spending my money. The next day, the Saturday, Kevin Nash is going to be here. I'm going to meet Kevin Nash instead of fucking spending my money on watching Hit Row fucking do untimed raps over a beat that doesn't make sense.
Well, speaking
Fuck
of spending
them.
your money, you should go to SpanishDownstable.net, hit our donate link, spend some money there. Go to Pro Wrestling Tees, search for Spanish Down Stable, spend some money on our shirt, and then use hashtag Tweet the Table and join us here next week. Unless you got anything else, Tom, to
Well, what do you think? Hold on. What do you think happens? Yeah. So we got Sammy loses. Sammy says, hey, Kevin, let's team up to take down the Bloodline. Kevin says, nah, fuck you.
Yeah.
So what is
I think
it?
we get it. I don't know how we get there, but they're just going to play more of that. He's going to keep getting beat up. One of them is going to keep getting beat up, or they both are, and they team up finally. We get the Mega Powers reunite or whatever.
Well, but then what happens? Because the interesting part, and I will say this, the interesting part, though, is what happens with Jay and Sammy, the bitter rivals that are now friends, apparently.
The best story is that everybody ultimately takes down Rowan, and maybe they all help Cody win it. Maybe that's what happens is, you know what I mean? But I don't know. Maybe that comes after Mania even.
I think
WrestleMania Backlash.
Yeah. I still think Jay doubles down and says, I'm Bloodline for life. This is my family. And that's how we get Usos versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. But I still think, look, Kevin Owens is great, and the Usos are the second best tag team in the world, in my opinion. I still think you run back WrestleMania 20, where you say the feud is, just like WrestleMania 20, the feud was Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and then the Royal Rumble winner was Chris Benoit. You do this where you say the feud is Roman Reigns, Sami Zayn, and Cody's the Royal Rumble winner. Triple threat. Let's fucking do it for all the marbles. But
yeah, we shall see.
I love Sammy. Man,
I love Sammy, but yeah, I don't know. I think they got him to the height they were going to get him to, and I think that's where we're going to leave it. But I think that's where we'll leave this, and we'll just say join us next week on episode 424 of the Spanish Announce Table.
The Spanish Announce Table.